Hey guys, and welcome back to another Access 72 video. In today's video I'm back with another interview and I'm here with Chann Thonson. Chann, how are we?
Doing great, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you very much for going on the channel.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, and so am I right in saying you're a 31-year-old lightweight who's 13-0?
Yes, correct.
Yes, great. And so if you're on the around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like video if you're doing a like video, and let's get straight into it. So I'm going to start off with the question which I always like to start off with, and that is, why did you start boxing?
Um, sorry, man. It's a funny reason. I actually wanted to go to the UFC
Okay.
because Bruce Lee is a big was a big idol and inspiration of mine, and I always wanted to go to the UFC to prove that like a smaller man could beat bigger men. You know,
Yeah.
a fight is not necessarily depends on weight size. So I did a little bit of jiu-jitsu and then a little bit of boxing at the same time. I had my first jiu-jitsu match, and then I had my first boxing match. But when I had my first boxing match, the environment and the energy of the gala of the show was very like electrifying and very intense. And then I realized that boxing was going to be the way that I could express myself through the world. Because I want to, I have aspirations of changing the world for a better place, becoming a role model and preaching the word of God. So through boxing is that I will be able to, God had told me through boxing, I'll be able to do that, make a living financially, and also spread the word, help bring positive change.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's great. I'll touch a little bit more on that a little bit later. But just to kind of stick on the amateurs, what do you remember? What happened in your first amateur fight?
Yes, I remember it clear as day because it was amazing. I prepared because boxing was introduced. I introduced boxing to my family.
Okay.
So going into my amateur fight, I didn't really have much experience of what it could possibly be like. So I prepared for everything and the worst. And I had fought a guy, a Haitian dude, who was 2-0. I remember training really hard. I went to the bathroom. I got a little nervous when I saw him, but I went to the bathroom, got on my knees, and said, "God, you would never give me anything that I couldn't handle. So I'm gonna like be courageous and going out there." And it was 2 minute rounds, and the first round was very good. I remember walking back strong to the corner after the first round. And after the second round, I remember like dragging myself back to the corner because I was exhausted.
Yeah.
It was like, and it was, I remember it being so real. Like I never had that was the first time that I felt such a real, like in the moment type of experience, because it's like you're in the ring with somebody in a box, and now the objective is to beat the other man. You know what I mean? So without having any emotional attachments towards him, it's not like I have anger or I'm mad at him or there's something that's forcing me to fight him. It's like I'm in here and he's in here and let's do it. So it was something. It was an amazing experience. And I remember even after the experience, when I had watched the video myself, I was more nervous rewatching the footage than the actual fight, you know. But it was an amazing experience.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
That's a great story, and it's good to see you can remember it so well and so fondly.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, throughout your whole amateur career, what was your biggest achievement?
My biggest achievement, to be honest, I didn't really achieve any actually titles in amateur boxing. You know, my amateur boxing, I'd have to say it was organized divinely because I started only box at 19. So all of my experiences were, I was trained like a professional, and that is why one of the reasons why I lost a few amateur fights, because I was always taking my time to get into the groove of things, and by the time the fight was done, I was like ready to go. You know, so I feel like my amateur career had prepared me because I started boxing a little bit late. It's as if like I took the amateur route to, without knowing it, it just happened this way, prepared me to be a professional. So boxing, the style that I have is I'm a slick fighter. I like to take my time, warm up, see what's going on, and then when I collect all the data that I have, then I take it to my opponent. So my preparation, and because I was in a gym full of professionals after I think my 5th or 6th amateur fight, and then I was always sparring pros, and we were sparring 6 rounds, 5 rounds. Sometimes on the occasion I would go to 8. So when I was sparring against guys that were pros that were much stronger and better than me at the time, I would always be conservative. Where an amateur, you need to have a faster pace, you know. So I didn't I would always qualify like in the Golden Gloves. I would get like a bronze medal. I never got to the gold medal or anything. Actually, like I said, the titles that I have now are my first titles in boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're monumental to me.
No, definitely. I mean, you can always see a lot of fighters do just kind of suit the professional side of things more than the amateur side of things.
Yeah, because you get to I think the difference between amateur and professional. I definitely do agree that the amateur way to professional boxing is the right way to go. But the difference I would say is that the professional, it's more of a fight.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to know how to box as well. But then there's guys you see that are champions that became champion that they don't really have much boxing skill, but they're so tough and they're strong and they fight, and it's like they have a lot of time to get the job done. You know, versus a guy who's, if he's super slick and he's hard to hit in 3 rounds, it's gonna be hard to beat him. You know?
No, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. And so I suppose that kind of answers my question of why did you end up turning professional when you did?
Yeah, I turned professional when I did because when I was boxing amateur, it was very good and there was not much tournaments happening at the time. And I think I had won like my last several fights. And the gym that I was in, they had professionals there. So they were telling me like, hey, you know, you're beating up the pros in the gym at this point. Wow. You know, like they're like, I think that you're ready to take this step. So it took me a couple months to actually make the final decision, and then I made the decision. And what I came to realize as well is like, wow, boxing as a professional, I actually do like to not take my time, but the fact that you have more rounds, it's okay if one round gets lost. It's okay if you take your time a little bit more. Certain things, and the way you train is a little bit more different. How you prepare is a little bit more different. The money and the factors as well, you know, the sponsorship and things that come with it, just suited me more as a fighter, to be honest.
Definitely, it's good that you kind of knew that from such a, I suppose, early part of your career.
Yeah, exactly. But I had a rough career though as a professional. Being like when I first turned professional, I was having problems with promotions, problems with coaches and a few things. So my first 6 professional fights were in the span of 4.5 years. Wow. That was, I have to say, one of the hardest things that I've ever experienced in the sport of boxing is maintaining the belief of holding on to my dream of changing the world, of being a part of the change of the world, and then not having any fights, because my dream and my fights were congruent. I needed to fight, you know, to show who I am in order to do what I want to do. But if I was only fighting once a year, it's like I would go up, then it's like I'd go down, then I would go up and I would go down. So and then when I got signed to the promoter that I'm with now, I realized after my second fight consistent with him, because the first fight that I had with my promoter, it wasn't special to me because I was used to fighting once every 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. But when I had the second fight that was back to back, I realized that through those 4 years, I actually did lose the love for boxing. Yeah. Because when I had that second fight, I was like, wow, I'm like, this feels amazing. Like my second win, and you know, I felt great, and it was truly amazing. So the love had only came back to me. The love of boxing only came back to me in 2020 or 2022, January. Okay. And I was like, okay, I really do love this, and I started to get more focused, and then I actually got more focused, got more serious, and studied more, and just jumped back into the love of boxing. Because to be honest, my attachments were to God, you know, my dreams of what I want to do for the world. That's what kept me going all those years of not fighting, you know.
No, definitely. Yeah. I see a lot of fighters speak about that kind of political side of boxing and how tough it can be, and so that was kind of linked to my next question of how much did your religion and that kind of thing help you get through that? So a lot of fighters that don't have that kind of, I suppose, fuel in the way might just kind of tail off and maybe go on to something else.
Exactly, because I personally know a lot of fighters who have stopped boxing because that fire has stopped or those issues have occurred, you know. And I don't have a specific religion. Some might say that the way that I speak or the way that I talk sounds like a Christian. Okay. I don't really attach myself to any particular religion. I would say I'm a man of God, and I do believe in God, and I believe in Jesus Christ. And through my journey, I knew that, like I said, when I first started boxing, it was God who told me to not MMA, boxing. Yeah. And my dreams were to speak to the world and to change things, that I feel that need changing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be a voice that was heard. So when I was having those specific reasons, honestly, there was days that I was, crying almost, because I see everyone fighting and I see guys fighting, and it's like, I know that it's like I'm meant to do this, and then because I'm so connected to God, there was a point in my career where I felt like I don't want to do this no more, But that dream of, and that, let's say, obligation,
mm-hmm.
I felt that's within inside myself is what kept me training no matter what. So that was my true feel, because I try to, what I love about boxing is like, it teaches you discipline.
Yeah.
It teaches you, structure as a human being, because you have to stay focused. So I try to not only implicate these teachings to me as a boxer, but as a person.
Yeah.
So whether I was fighting or not, these are the discipline guidelines that I chose to try to live by. So I always made sure that I was always in shape, just as a human being, So it's like, I love the art of I love the art of fighting, the let's say martial arts, all of the arts. So boxing it's a great art, and whether I was competing or not, it's something that I would still do. I just knew that I had to stay ready for it when the time came, and ultimately God told me to do the right thing, because I'm here now today,
Of course. And well, I suppose the fact that you've managed to go through this hardship means that if you kind of see anybody else maybe in their early part of their career, you can be somewhat of a, I suppose, motivation or inspiration to them to be able to kind of help them through that kind of maybe tough patch that they might go through.
Yeah, and I always tell, because one of the things that I do tell people, and I would say this in life more than anything else, is that your shot will come. No matter what it is that you want to do, your shot will come. So I feel like when preparation meets opportunity, this is when things happen. Because had I chose to just sit down and say, I'm waiting, well, when the shot did present itself, I wouldn't have been ready. So having faith and believing in yourself, and believing that your life is being guided by a higher power, God, I think that's a key to help you stay strong, and understand that focusing on the day that you're presented with more than the actual journey, the actual destination, is more important. Focusing on the actual step that you're taking to get there versus on being there,
Of course. And I suppose you kind of have to say that you are still on your journey at the moment. 13-0, and you're doing very well so far in your career. And yes. I suppose, kind of out of these 13 professional fights you've had, which one would you say you've performed your best in?
My best, I would have to say the fight that I had on Showtime versus Tyler, even though because I hurt my left leg 10 days before, and I don't even know what happened. Like me, I always pray for my opponents because I know what it is that I'm going there to do. And I feel like my leg hurting was the crutch that softened his blow, because I did stop him in the 5th round, but I was so concerned on not putting the weight on my front leg because I hurt it. But nonetheless, between the preparation, the importance and significance of this fight, and the respect that I would gain from having this fight is what was very important. And when I'm a big critic to myself, I'm a very big critic when I review myself. And when I had watched my performance, I was very proud. There was obviously things that I took back to say I could have improved or not improved, but from what I saw, that to me was a very good performance. And not only did I beat him, I stopped him, So I was happy with my performance.
That's great to hear. And so, of course, you are the North American champion currently. And so how big of an achievement is being a North American champion?
I think it's a big achievement, because what I've noticed that, I train in Vegas to prepare for training camps, promoter sent me to Vegas. And I noticed that being ranked in the world, it's weird. I don't always feel it. I don't always feel like that I have that big achievement. I still feel like I'm still growing, and there's much more that I want to achieve. But it's a big, let's say, a door opener. It's a big door opener. So for people to look at me, to see that I fought on Showtime once, to see that I have the North American belt, the NABA, it says, okay, this guy, he's not he's obviously here for a reason. You know, he belongs here, and I proved to myself in terms of my training, the sparrings that people that I've sparred with, that I do belong here and that I am getting better. So having it kind of, I feel like it's like a badge of honor, almost. You know, where it's like, look, like I'm just not. I am a somebody, and this is proof to the words that I speak. You know, and the things that I'm trying to achieve. So it's like a badge of honor.
Yeah, definitely. And well, I mean, you said that you kind of train out in Vegas at the moment, but when you do fight in, I believe your home country's Canada, if I'm right in saying. Yeah, so when you do fight there, kind of, how is it like to get that kind of reception going back to your home country?
Well, I haven't fought in Canada since I've been signed for my last fight was my 6th fight in Canada, in Quebec, my province. But I haven't fought here since, so I can't wait to fight because everyone's asking me now, because like even when I was fighting once every couple of months or a year or so, people would show up to my fights because people, I'm loved and people want to see me win.
Of course.
But now since I've been consistent, it's like they're more hungry to see me come back and fight. You know, so I haven't really got a chance to really feel what it's like to come back and fight, but I could kind of understand what it might be like, because every time I do come back home from, you know, for a little break after the fights, the love that I get from my supporters and my people is it's a lot. So I can only imagine what it would be like again for me to actually fight back home, you know.
No, definitely. And so, am I right in saying you've got a fight coming up on March 30th?
Yeah, in Panama.
Yes. And so, how's preparations overall been going for that?
Preparation is very good, and because I'm still learning on the job, I have to, my biggest strength, I'd have to say, is my work ethic. I don't believe that there's a fighter in the world that you could put me next to. Maybe he could have more boxing experience and he could have more like experience in boxing, but if you're talking about side by side, who's going to run longer, who's going to punch more, I don't think there's a fighter in the world that you could put me next to and he will outwork me. I'm able to work very, very hard, but my coach is was an Olympian. He won a bronze medal for the Olympics in '92. His name is Chris Johnson, and he's a masterful teacher. So every camp we have specific things that we work on, and the way that I develop and grow throughout my camps, and how I see the change, it's like it's always perfect timing for the fight, because I go through things. He teaches me, and then I show him what he's looking for, and then it's like we practice it in sparring. I achieve it, and then it's like by the time the fight comes, it's like I'm ready to display how I grew from all the training that I've gotten. And because boxing is still, it's not, I've been in it almost 12 years now, so it's not new, but fairly new in terms of the sport of boxing, how people are always starting from when they're young, is that I'm still like a sponge. You know what I mean? I'm very receptible to change, to what my coach is telling me. So I'm able to apply what it is that he's teaching me. So this camp has been going very great. I have to say that out of this camp, I'm always on my toes, and I'm a boxer. But this camp, I'd say, started expressing more of the strength that I possess.
That's good.
The strength that I possess behind what it is I could do already. So it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to getting into the ring and showing that it's like I'm not just a slick boxer. It's like I have power that needs to be respected as well.
Definitely. That's great. And so your opponent, I believe, is Kevin Rivera, if I'm right in saying. And so how much do you kind of know about him?
I don't know too much about him. I'm happy he's undefeated. I was hopefully, after, I'm happy he's undefeated. I didn't expect this type of opponent in terms of I thought maybe we'd be fighting someone from North America, to be honest. But I'm happy he's undefeated because that'll be good. That'll go good on the record. And with all due respect, like I said, I'm a big critic, and he's very basic. You know, I always go into the fights prepared, and I don't take nothing for granted. But his skills are very basic. He's not really fast. I see a lot of holes in his defense. He's not really strong. I beat him in all areas as far as boxing goes. You know, so I don't believe this will go to distance. This type of fighter I should knock out in a beautiful fashion, and that's what I'm looking to do.
No, it's a good analytical view, and I'm sure it will end up being brought into fruition. And so for anybody who might be wanting to come and watch this fight and haven't watched you fight before, what would you say makes yourself interesting as a fighter?
What makes me interesting as a fighter? I feel like for me personally, what makes me interesting as a fighter is that, one, I'm a boxer, so you're going to see a lot of you're going to see movement, you're going to see counter punching. That is more my strength. I like to slip punches, so you're going to see a lot of elusive movements, and at the same time, I'm in the fight as well. You know, I'm not too much on my back foot. I'm still in the fight, so you're going to see someone that is looking to win. You know, and not win, looking to beat his opponent. I always say there's a difference between winning and beating the opponent. When you win, ultimately, yes, you beat him, but to beat him, to me, means taking him out of there, really putting the hurt on him, and you were engaging, not just winning the fight. You know what I mean? So you're going to see that I'm looking to win. I'm very much in there, and at the same time, you're going to see the science of boxing as well. So between my physical features, the technical aspect that the level of technique that I've acquired, it's something nice to watch, you know.
Okay.
I think people, be glad to see me box. I've been told a lot of times, like, wow, you're just very nice to watch the box. So,
no, that's the best thing to be told. And so, I mean, you're ranked by, I don't know which body at the moment. WBA. Okay. And so, are you going to be kind of just continuing to maybe go up that, or wanting to just slowly go up it, or are you going to be wanting to just look at the big guys?
Are you talking about, like, literally? Are you talking about just pursuing the WBA route, or
just the world rankings in general?
Okay, that's world rankings in general, because this belt that we're getting right now, I think I'm fighting for a WBC belt that will put me in the top 15 for the WBC.
Okay.
And me and my promoter, we both share the same vision. We know that we would like to have maybe 2 fights that are tough this year, and the next few fights a little bit more than the caliber that I'm facing right now, tougher fights than I'm facing now, and then potentially a tough fight, whether it's going to be on Showtime again or ESPN, something that could bring me a little higher in the rankings. And then as of next year, I think, like, in short, I would say I'm 4 fights away, 4 good fights away of being ready to try to face one of these world titles, for one of these world titles, one of these top guys that will put me in, like, the mandatory, or actually be for a world title. You know, so yeah.
Okay, that's great. And
we're not running, but we're not walking. You know.
Of course, that's a good mindset. And so I mean, you're in a very difficult division at the moment, and
the hardest.
Yes, and so is there any kind of particular champion you might be looking maybe towards more?
Well, David Haney has all the belts. I just feel like that. Personally, I feel like he's not going to be in the division much longer.
Okay.
So I feel like everyone's trying to position themselves in a way where that when he relinquished those belts, that you could be in a position to grab one of them. You know, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward towards doing. So let's say, like, next couple of fights that I have could put me in a position where, if and when he does relinquish the belts, like, prior to, let's say, anything aside from me having to fight him for them, if he does relinquish the belts, I will be in a good enough position in my ranking so that my promoter could sanction the belt so that I could fight for it. You know, so keep my position close and be ready for it when the time comes.
Okay.
Because other than that, I don't mind to fight anyone for the belts, for the titles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so, well, I mean, to kind of link on with Haney, I've got a couple, just want to know your thoughts on a couple of fights. And so, I mean, the first one is Haney-Lomachenko. What's your thoughts on that?
I like Lomachenko. He's very unique, and I think he's a future Hall of Famer because of what he's brought to the sport, his dynamics that he brought to the sport of boxing. But I don't think he can beat, I mean, he could beat Haney, but the chances are, to me, are very slim because Haney's big, much bigger than him, and he's fast at the same time too. You know, a good big man will beat the good little man, and I feel like the struggle, when Lomachenko was in the lower divisions, he showed a lot of invincibility. It was almost as if he was invincible, but as soon as he moved up weight, he's getting hit more. He's getting touched more. The things that he used to do aren't working the same. And now you're talking about fighting the best, technically, in the division. who in my opinion is either faster or equally as fast as you, but bigger, you know, so and longer, you know what I mean? So I don't really see how he could beat him. But where there's a will, there's a way, and if he follows a strategy, the right strategy, he definitely has the ability to do it. It's just a matter of fact, can he do it?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Definitely. And so just thoughts on one more fight, and that being Garcia versus Tank, yeah.
I really like Tank. Like he's a fighter that I would, in terms of like I like the fact that he's knocking pretty much everyone out. I like his attitude towards boxing. I personally feel like in boxing today, there's too much friends.
Yeah.
Everyone is friends with each other. So certain fights are taking so long to get made, where in actuality, I feel like a lot of fights should be being made now. So the fact that Tank stands out in that aspect of like a friendship aspect with other fighters, I like him a lot. And I like how he's finishing his opponents. Ryan Garcia, he's very fast. He has good accuracy. But I don't know when it comes down to, this is just my my thoughts about it. He's obviously strong and tough for the position for him to get to where he's got to in the sport of boxing. But I don't know how strong mentally he is to continue to keep someone like Tank away from him for the length of time that it's going to take. If he could somehow knock Tank out early, well then all power to him, and then he'll do it. But if the fight plays out and it's going back and forth, by the time 6-7 rounds approach, Tank is very strong mentally, and he's very strong in his character. I can see that about him, you know, in his whether his upbringing or whatever it's about. He's very strong in his character, and he's very strong minded. I can see that. I don't know if Ryan Garcia has that, like, you know, like that grit that Tank has to do it later in the rounds. If he wants to beat him, I think he has to focus on beating him as early as possible, to be honest. So my predictions, I think either of them could, let's say, knock each other out, depending on who hits who where at the time. But if it goes anything past, to me, 4 or 5 rounds, I'm going to have to give it to Tank by knockout.
Definitely. Okay, that's a great prediction. And so, well, I thank you very much for your time. I'll leave you with this final question, which I always like to ask. And so, you've got a little bit of a platform here. Would you like to shout anything out?
Yes, absolutely. I would say if you want to follow me, Chann Thonson on Instagram and Chann Thonson on Facebook, I could always use support. I could always use the financial support. Anyone who could help me continue along this journey. You know where to find me.
Indeed. Okay. Well.
And thank you again for taking the time to have me on your show.
It's been a pleasure to have you on, mate. Thank you very much. Maybe a little bit further along down the line, we can come back and do another one.
Absolutely. One thing that I love about one thing that's attached to me wanting to, you know, great things in the world is also bringing people up. So I mean, hey, if you're starting your show and everything, it's like I would love for you to follow the career so that you could grow along. We can grow alongside each other. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. That's great. I appreciate that very much, man. And so if you are new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do like the video, and thanks for watching.